Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it's NMeade here, and welcome back to, I guess, my somewhat annual timesheet video now I have on this channel. And this is actually going to be quite interesting, a lot more interesting than last year's timesheet video. So if you want to see what goes on in the mind of a high-tier time trialer with goal setting and everything else from year to year, you're going to learn something pretty cool from this video, I think. It's going to be a lot more structured, a lot more goal-oriented as opposed to like maybe some fleeting goals last year. I want to kind of revitalize my old TT spirit this year, so to speak. So I'm going to show you what's going to go through my mind for my plans for this year. So you guys are seeing that right. My time is that old, number one. Never been the biggest fan of time trial on this track at baseline in the past. Haven't improved in the past year, but I want to finally come back to Luigi Circuit, try and learn the new wheelie strategy on the shroom, where basically it allows you to be at maximal speed outside of the shroom cut, thus saving a lot more consistent time, some better driving, maybe some more chain wheelies in there too. And I think I'm a little bit more capable than just a 0.3, but I think that's a healthy goal to have. You don't want to overextend yourself on your goals, and then it's a little bit too daunting, and you kind of get disappointed if your endeavor is not fruitful, if you don't improve at all, or you have like a very tiny improvement. So I have more of like the chunk method for a lot of different goals I have in the game. Some different tracks have much bigger goals, and I'll kind of explain why those are as well. But that's currently in my plans for Luigi Circuit. I hope to have a 2022 PB and not a 2010 PB like this one is right here. So that is Luigi Circuit. We head into Moo Moo Meadows. I'm actually quite happy with this, to be honest. If you guys have been subbed to my channel for a while, I did upload this time last year. Because, as you guys can see, I did improve by 108 milliseconds in the past year. I returned to worldwide top 10 on this track. 10th, but even still, I haven't been on this worldwide tops in probably almost 10 years, so maybe 2012, 2013 perhaps. And I've always been very good here. I had many world record fails in the past back in the day, and I still have a lot more untapped potential here. I will eventually try and get back to second worldwide here, but as it stands right now, I'm honestly very content with this. I might play it sporadically once in a while, but it's not like a concrete track where I have to hit it in this year. And what you're going to see too is it's kind of rare for players to kind of examine their entire timesheet visually watching everything. You can look at the entire timesheet like on the MK leaderboards, but actually watching time by time, it's quite a different experience. I actually quite like doing this, to be honest. So I'm quite content with this PB right now. I can improve it by a lot more, but as you're going to see too, I'm going to try to shift my time that I have the time trial and put it towards some bigger goals that I have, because I'm going to spread myself too far too thin if I have so many things I'm trying to do at once, especially on something like this where I'm quite content with what I did in the past year. So this might be one of my bigger projects in 2023 perhaps, to try and really get a lot lower for time here, but I'm very happy as it stands right now with my Moo Moo Meadows time. So yeah. Move on to Mushroom Gorge, and this needs a much needed overhaul. Mario Kart gods, please help me for the love of God on the freaking hopless gorge. Please help me, because I've not improved in the past year. I didn't try at all in the past year, but I desperately need to get better at this track. Believe it or not, at one point in my timeline, I was second worldwide here. I had world record fails before. It was a 142 in the low 143 territory. And I am nowhere near what that standard is anymore in modern day. This is actually one of my worst tracks by far now. But I did come along the Hopless Gorge train in like beginning of 2020 as it stands over here. And I actually improved my PB by over 1 full second with like a proper 3-for-3 like this. I've had much better splits than this. I think if I really try to optimize my driving outside of really good mushrooms, because at this point for me, for where my PB is at right now, my biggest time save is going to be really optimizing the gorge cuts, and then all these drifting tricks on the mushrooms too, where maybe like a small detail, but there are tons of mushroom tricks on this entire run for 3 laps. So all the minute time save is actually a lot in all 3 laps here at a high tier time trial. So yes, I want to definitely get, I think a 0.7 is reasonable. I think if I get better driving here and have 3 for 3 clean cuts, at least to the standard that this had, a 0.7 is pretty feasible. I would love to get like a lower 141 long term, but again, I don't want to overextend the goals that I have. Just be practical, realistic, and kind of course correct from there and see how I'm feeling once I reach my goal. And what's nice is having different goals that you want to have on different tracks. It helps you not be bored. If you're really focused on your favorite track, I get it, I've been there, but eventually you're kind of sick of your favorite track for a little while, and be able to bounce around different PBs and different goals that you have, it really keeps you in the time trial fight, as I'll say, for longer than you would, you know, before you quit, let's say. So I'll probably honestly never touch Mushroom Gorge Glitch ever again. And when I do, I'll be using the freaking Wii wheel plastic thing to do the Quacker cookie strat, where basically you kind of articulate back and forth on the mountain. And instead of taking this entire turn at the end, you skip that entire thing, you articulate around, and you go right into the finish line. So the only reason why I had to improve this is for more ranks on the players page and get back higher in the ranks. But I'm not looking to rehaul almost any of my glitch times, spoiler alert, in 2022. 1 or 2, I think, but definitely not this. So this is a good reason for having a 2010 PB. Didn't try it, don't care for it. But eventually I do have to go back to it, but definitely not in this year or the coming year, possibly. So that is all categories of MG. Now, Big Ol' Toad's Factory. I want some retribution on this track because this really could have been my first 149 when I said it in 2019. I like half tried honestly on this sporadically in 2021, and nothing exactly fruitful. Basically, to get a 149, it's basically just going through the rounds until you're at the shroomless cut and the low jump. And that's where all of your time save or time loss is going to be at a high level. Granted, controlling for factors like having the full chain wheelies and the left side applies to. Apart from that, it's just almost like an auto-scroller in my eyes. But you can gain or lose a disgusting amount of time on both the shroomless cut and also the low jump. You can make the shroomless late cut and make the low jump, or you can get really low ones for both of those respectively. So I definitely want retribution this year. I want to give it a solid shot. It's actually one of my favorite tracks to play, believe it or not, but it's kind of hard to get back into it, into the groove of this, and to kind of stick out for a longer grind. So this might be one that I may visit maybe in late 2022 perhaps. We'll see. But it's just getting the super low jump is perplexing to me, but more than that is getting very fast and low late cuts are very hard for me. I know how to make it pretty well, but if you watch the world record goes in the top 10 times in the world tier, they go so low and they're almost clipping their back wheel on the landing. Like they zoom across and it's just so fast. And it's so hard for me to optimize that. But actually it's going to start from this ramp over here where they do like a twisting trick where you get lower air time. And I feel like it helps you get faster shroomless cuts at the same time. So I want retribution here. I'm going to work for my first 149 and ultimately a 0.7 I'll be very pleased with. And I would be happy to leave it at that point for quite some time, to be honest. So beyond that time, you're kind of splitting hairs or really optimizing those aforementioned factors as well. So I'd be happy with that for sure. So, Flower Cup time. Mario Circuit, no glitch. I'm very happy with this. I can definitely get like a 121.6 here without the ramp. My PB here still does not go for the ramp at all. And I was actually kind of surprised how old this actually was when I said it. It was over 2 years ago now. But I have no intentions of improving this in the current year, 2022. Being honest, if and when I'll eventually come back to this track to grind it, I will be adjusting to implementing the ramp by the chain chomp there. That's going to be quite the learning curve to try and learn that, but it's not going to be worth it trying to maximize a no ramp time when at most my gain is 200 milliseconds or so within my control versus like getting like a very low 121, or I could honestly 120 this I think with 3 for 3 really good ramps. it's actually always been one of my best speed tracks, believe it or not, back in the day. And it was actually fairly decently high in worldwide tops for a period of time here. So this is still my favorite speed track, actually, without the ramp. It's such a graceful, simplistic track to play. But again, as you see, I'm trying to congregate my time spent when I have time to time trial, mostly on stream these days. For some of my bigger goals I've had for a very long period of time, and to really tackle those targets in this year and finally tick off those boxes, so to say. But yeah, again, I'm quite content. This is still a fairly solid no ramp time for what it is, so I can't be mad about that. So it was like a 122.2. I definitely want to come back to it, but I'm quite happy with this for sure. So now to Mario Circuit Glitch. This is another track category that didn't improve it, didn't touch it, don't care for it, not going to bother about it in 2022. Again, this, as most glitch and shortcut categories, my only reason to try and improve them is just for trying to improve my ranks on the players page to try and get back overall ranks at this point. I will say though, this was actually a pretty fun endeavor to try and learn the tree clip. And this is probably one of the first glitches I will revisit out of all of them when I eventually try to revisit most of the categories, honestly. I'm quite interested in trying to learn the super fast strat that they do now, which is doing that crazy tree clip, and then they hit the star and the finish line, and they kind of collapse down through the track because of the horizontal wall collision, and you kind of turn inside the tunnel. Like, that's super cool, and I would love to learn how to do that. So this was one of the more quote-unquote fun ones to learn for me at the time. So yeah, again, having like a sub 1 minute time would be very cool, so I'll do that at some point, but not in my itinerary for 2022 time trial. So yeah, after this we're going to be moving on to Coconut Mall, which you're going to see this one of the first tracks that I had a substantial rehaul. Okay, I improved my PB last year by almost 1 full second. You saw that right. My 157.454 was originally 3rd worldwide in 2011, I believe. Had none of the current strats. And so I eventually had to teach myself the right hand claw position. You guys have probably seen my input viewer and also my hand cam in the recent online time trial sessions, where that allows me to specifically hover right on the right part of the D-pad and press right every single time. And so I was always a very fast driver on Coconut Mall, but I just could never adjust to the modern day strats because of having to have a very weird hand configuration on the GCN controller. But my hands did hurt for a period of time, being honest, but it was for the greater good of trying to adjust to the faster strats and to really come into a form I was back in the day. And so I definitely want to grind this again during this year. I honestly feel like I can get a 155 long term here because this is again one of my better tracks, especially from back in the day. I understand a lot of the nuances of this track. So this PB is very sloppy. It just kind of gets most of the quote unquote infi tricks or the right side tricks, but nothing too notable here. But I'm very happy to at least have a 156, let alone almost a low 156. But I think my best splits, they already give close to 155 when I was grinding it at the beginning of last year. And so my goal is a 0.1, but that's basically to try and get back on worldwide tops. That's kind of like my overarching goal for this current year. But I'll be happy with at least a 0.1 anyway, because that is a very impressive time in and of itself. I mean, for a period of time, Infi had his 156.1, and that seemed like such a imposing time for the entire player base to beat. And now I think he's even off worldwide tops now, I think. So I could definitely best that time for sure. So I want to give this another special treatment in this year. This is one of my favorite tracks to play, and I have a lot more untapped potential here. It's a very technical and very hard track to play, but I'm going to give it another decent shot in the coming year. Moving on. Coconut Mall glitch side. Again, didn't bother in the past year with the glitch side of things. No goal for this year. But just like Mario Circuit glitch, this is actually going to be one of the glitches that I would like to do when I start revisiting all of them eventually in the future. I'm smiling because you see how convoluted that old glitch entry is. So if you're to compare my PB to the current world record, it's like what, 8 seconds faster? Is like a it's a low 31 by Breakson. So it's over 8 seconds faster than this. And the majority, I'll say, of the time save is having the task entry at the very beginning of the track. So I would like to grind for that eventually. I think I could probably get like a 33-second time that's not like asking for too much, I don't think. So I will not go for that in this current year of 2022, but maybe in 2023. We'll see. We'll see. Another track I got a PB on in the past year is DK Summit. It was actually in the beginning of this current year in 2022. And I got my first 149. And I had a pretty decent cut here. But I can really be a lot faster here. I've had much faster paces and much faster laps here as well. So this may seem like a daunting giant cut. You see how I alluded to earlier in the video that there's times for reasonable chunks and goals to have. And then sometimes it may seem like a giant jump for a certain track. You have to understand that your PB won't be reflective of your full potential and capability on a track. I know for myself, I can definitely get a 148 with my skill set without learning the faster Jimmy Chasm cut. So that's my personal current goal for this. I would be happy with a very low 149, but I would love to walk away in this current year with a 148. Getting the first 149 eluded me for so long, almost the entire time. So I was actually very content despite how bad lap 3 was in this run here, as you'll come to watch. But still nowhere near my potential here. Just like Coconut Mole No Glitch 2, this is a very technical, hard track to perform, have consistent results, and close out runs too. A lot of these high-level tech tracks, you can be spinning in circles, eventually having some decent paces into lap 2, or once in a while lap 3 pace that's going to be a huge PB. But it takes so much to close out a PB on this track in particular. So I think at some point I would like to actually practically learn the quote-unquote Jimmy cut, where you do like a spin drift over the first chasm, hop perfect in the second chasm, and cut over 1 second plus per lap. But that'll come later on in the future. So I think that's a pretty practical goal for me, and I look forward to trying to see if I can actually attain that mark in this year. So that concludes that track. Moving on now to Wario's Gold Mine. I am so proud of this run. This might be my proudest PB recently, actually in the past year. So all you guys may know by now, the huge developments that Wario's Gold Mine went through during January. And I joined suit. I almost never tried to try new strats right when they're developing for like probably 10 plus years, and I haven't really cared all that much in recent years. But I wanted to see if I could really get back to some of my older form here. I did have the record here a couple of times in the past, and my driving just didn't reflect that in years past. I was so out of touch on this track, and I did want to try to grind this during 2021, but I didn't really get around to it. But the new strat of the detach and then the beginning turn skip, which this run doesn't do, but my previous one did. It helped yield me, literally improving my time by almost 1 full second within a week's time. And if I got this PB, I think literally 24 hours earlier, I would have returned to the worldwide top 10, which that was my goal. Didn't get it. At this point, to get on worldwide tops, for my skill set and my driving, I would have to learn the beginning turn skip, and that's just way too hard for me. It's not really too practical, because again, I'm going to reiterate this a couple of times. So if you're a player that you're struggling with trying to hit certain times, but you're bouncing between a lot of different tracks, you have to see what's actually worth your time investment at the time. Because my time investment to learn the beginning turn skip to cut 0.2 for worldwide tops would be far better suited to sink it into, let's say, trying to get the 148 on DK Summit or some other goal that I have a lot more to cut and the time use will be far more efficient in that way. Not to say you can't play for fun once in a while, but just being more wise about how you utilize your time when you play the game. Obviously, you know, we're different ages, right? Maybe working a job, college, different commitments, things like that. So if our time is very limited, we have to be very, very specific and wise with how we use our free time, right? So, case in point again, another glitch PB that didn't bother with, and I probably won't bother with for quite a while, honestly. This one was fun to learn, not gonna lie, back in 2010. This was my first and only 3-for-3 pipe bounce run. And this was worldwide tops, and it was the American record at one point. So I have that feather in my cap, so to speak. But this might be one of the last glitches I'll revisit because the turning spin drifting shroom, it just looks very difficult to learn. And I'd much rather sink my teeth into some other glitch and shortcut categories first, and then try to have the time sink for relearning this whole spin drifting, shrooming, pipe bounce strat that they do now in current day. So that's my rationale for this one. That concludes the Flower Cup. Now to the Star Cup, starting on Daisy Circuit. I have a lot of untapped potential here on this track. So I did try this for fun once in a while in the past year. I had many low 129 runs that would fail on lap 3, and I've had low 129s fail for the better part of almost 10 years now, off and on. This has always been one of my best tracks to play, and I've never come close to the potential that I have here. I'm pretty sure my splits have a 128 with Funky Kong as far as my memory serves me right. For so long now. It's very hard to close out runs here just for the stair dive, the cone RNG, the last turn being really strange with it. It will like suck you really into the road, or you get drift flopped, or you anticipate it slipping, you don't get it. So many different variables here. But this is one track I definitely really want to revisit. And I have a very, very modest goal of a 0.4 because I can get that at any time I touch this. I can warm up and get that in one try, literally. But long term, I want a 128 and the best Funky Kong time on the track, which I can totally do for sure. Once I'm back in form here, I could do a lot of damage here, which would be a fun thing to try and go for. No real interest trying Daisy here. It's just not really made for the track in my eyes. It just feels very unnatural to play with Daisy on this track. It makes a hairpin far easier, but it feels nowhere near to Funky Kong driving here. Long term, I will have to adapt to Daisy F1 against like the mid 128 territory long term, but I can definitely 120 with Funky Kong with no issue for the long term. So we'll see what happens here in the coming year. Another PB I'm quite happy with is my Koopa Cape. I recently uploaded this to the channel as well, and I improved my time by more than half a second in one foul swoop. However, this time it's nothing really to write home about for me personally, for my standards. And again, I say for my standards. Objectively, digit-wise, it's great, obviously. But again, I always try to preface this is my commentary and my own critique is versus my own standard from my own times and my own potential. So once in a while I'll see comments where like, oh, like this is bad for Nick, but it'll be awesome for me. So again, I say it from my standpoint and the goals and the potential that I personally have. So all I have to say, this is one of the biggest ones that I have, like the gap from my current PB to the goal that I have. And I can honestly almost get that any run too. This has always been one of my best tracks too, just like Coconut Mall for a long period of time. I've been enrolled by Tops multiple times back in the day. And that's actually my ultimate goal here, is getting back on Rolled by Tops long term, which I can definitely do. I have the splits for it. But again, just like a lot of these tracks here, what you're going to find is most of the tech heavy tracks in this game are in the Nitros, or the original tracks to Mario Kart Wii, not the retro tracks. And this being one of them. There are so many little things I could discuss that makes this track just perplexing and confusing, if I'm being honest. And sometimes you may figure out like some strat, oh, this might be consistent now, I kind of figured out this. And 2 tries later, that theory is out the window. You're back at square one. So um, this was my first endeavor trying to learn the proper way of doing the ending pipe clip strategy. I would do this very convoluted strategy of being all the way to the left and drifting hard all the way right. It'd be fairly consistent, but quite slow at the same time. So as you're going to see in this coming year, for me personally, I'm going to try to adapt to the current strats for a good amount of the tracks that I have goals for on the tracks that we're going to be discussing. So yeah, so at least first goal for me is a 218, but I can definitely jump to a 218.3 in any run that I do if all the variables are in place and the run goes well for me. So we'll see. I'm quite content so far, but I have a much hotter burning desire to have a much bigger time cut here that I'm due for after so long. So we'll see what happens in the coming year. My favorite track, Maple Treeway, as you guys may know at this point. This is my biggest project this year. I did not improve it in the past year. To my memory, I don't think I had a quote-unquote dedicated grind in the past year. Honestly, like most of 2021 was actually a quiet year for time trials for me, if I'm being honest. I did almost nothing offline. And when I would do time trial on stream, most notably, I didn't get much in the way of PBs, but I feel like a lot of my PBs happened later on in the latter half of 2021. But I really want to rekindle my own spirit of like trying to improve my own times more diligently. And so that's what's going to happen on this track. So you see my current PB and the gap to my goal. And this year is the year I finally teach myself the turn skip. So it's going to be 2 phases here. I would ideally love to get a 215 first, no turn skip. You might ask why. I still need to return to consistency of my performance on the track for driving and become a little bit faster overall. Doing turn skip does not guarantee you're going to get a very fast time. You need to have pristine driving to go alongside turn skips to have the full benefit of doing turn skip runs. So I can ideally get a 214 with a very solid 1 for 3 turn skip run, which is the category it's all one category obviously, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'm going to try and get a 1 for 3 that's almost a 214. That shouldn't be much of an issue at all. And then super long term, I want to try and fend for the world record once more on my favorite track. So I hope to give Demon a run for his money at some point before he inevitably jumps to like a mid 212 at some point. He's way overdue for that at this point for many, many years now. But yes, this is my favorite track through and through, and I'd love to give more time and dedication to my favorite tracks in the coming year. So that's my 2-phase plan. I may end up just getting like a 216.3 and calling it there. Maybe I have enough consistency and raw speed to where I deem it worthy to sink time into learning a whole new strategy, being the turn skip. So that's the biggest project for this year. We'll see what happens. Good luck to me. We'll see. So Maple Treeway glitch. As with almost all the glitches here, didn't try them and no plans for this year. As you'll see, with that prior goal being massive, learning a whole new strategy being the turn skip is going to be a giant time sink to learn how to do it and then execute it in runs and practically have a chance at getting a nice PB. So I'll say, you know, back in the day when I was an up and coming time trialer, it was more practical to bounce around tracks pretty frequently. What I would often do is on the players page, I would more often try and go by my lowest ranked time and try and make my worst ranked times one of my best ranked times. And that actually was a lot of fun to do, believe it or not. That really gave me a lot of the incentive to try and be the best well-rounded player in the game. Just to see, like, you know, you're like almost top 10 for almost everything from fast laps and 3 laps is super cool to do. And it's just fun to feel like you're competent on whatever is thrown your way in the game, whether it's any type of category or vehicle swap or whatever, or fast laps, that you have the full competency for the entire game pretty much. So I would like to actually learn the quote-unquote Benny strategy, where you're stuck in the row with the spear and you shroom, you're ejected from the floor, and you can do it 1-1-1. So long term, I would love to do that. This will be one of the main glitches I would love to try and do, maybe in 2023. I think 2023 will be the year I try to round off a lot of my times and improve my worst ranked times. This year, you're going to find a lot of my goals are going to be sort of like bucket list items I've had for quite a while. For times I should have had many, many years ago, but it was just way too frustrating doing the grind for those certain goals for a long period of time. But I think next year I'll kind of target more of like my lower ranked times and give it like a good revisit to my glitch and shortcut runs for sure. But yeah, that's kind of my rationale for all of that pretty much. So this will say where it is right now, but I think it might be one of my first glitch and shortcut tracks to revisit in the coming year in 2023. Lastly, Grumble for this cup. It is a player me fun fact. I got this run randomly when trying to play in between a Mogi Lounge during last year, almost a year ago now, May of last year. And I need to do so much more here. I would love to get a 152 here. I think I can finally do it. I started learning how to do a lot of the drifting orange tricks on this track. Most notably the one we passed a couple of seconds ago in the volcano. Basically what you're doing there is you're actually like purposely doing like a mini right drift, but then you're stopping. And then when you land on your back wheel, you're almost doing like another right drift again, but for a very minute small period of time. And then you put your wheelie in there, and then you have the perfect alignment going up the hill. So check this out. So you go like this, tiny drift like that. So a small detail, but when you're driving, not only the blue sparks come out for the empty charge, but the white sparks come out to indicate you're actually in the drift. So if you have a very keen eye now, we can watch the world record runs in different top 10 times now. You see they're actually doing an actual drift to slightly re-angle themselves to do a giant wheelie up the hill. Those tricks there are so annoying. They're so hard to do, but I've definitely improved a lot more on this track in the past year, more than this current PB lets on. I don't think I'll be going for the task shroom strategy yet at the end that the current world record does in modern day. Not yet. I think once I'm in like mid 152 territory, it might be worthwhile me trying to learn that. But for now, I just need to get better at the overall driving of the entire track, not just a shroom strat. So I'm happy with the progress that I made so far in the past year. Not like a giant cut, but it's more than what the cut leads on. Conceptually, I understand the track a lot more than I did in the previous year, so that's a giant plus for me. So quite a big goal for the coming year, but I think I can get it done. This is such a wonderful PB here. I will now play this almost ever again. It's probably gonna be one of the last tracks I revisit when I do a gauntlet of the shortcut and glitch PB, revising them like 2023, 2024, or whatever. But this run really could have been like a mid to low 20-second time if my ending was a lot better. This actually wasn't all that bad for a time that it was driven, but just look at this. I was so eager for a PB, and just look at that. If someone were to task correct that with the proper counter left drifting shroom right now, probably would have been like around like a 20.6 easily, I think. I'm going to learn the Quacker strategy if and when I go back to that in the future. Another giant project in the coming year is going to be this track. I have had splits for a 147 for a very long time at this point. This has always been one of my best tracks for a long period of time, and this run is nowhere near what that is. So, I would love to finally get a 147. I'm very excited in particular for this grind. This is one of my favorite tracks in all of Mario Kart 2, by the way. And I would love to be back on worldwide tops here as like a very long-term goal. that might require me learning the exit wheelie tomb strategy to help to have some bigger time cuts there. But I've had splits for a 147 for God knows how long, many years now. And I've had much worse fails than this run in years past. So pretty much just kind of ticked off the box for me for my first 148. Like, yeah, actually almost, wow, 4 years ago. I didn't realize how long it's been. That's crazy. And you're going to see as well, guys, in this run, I lose almost 0.5 lap 3 before the tomb. We've had some interesting ghost comparisons in the past. I literally lose almost 0.5 into the tomb. So this still could have been a lower 148, or at the very worst, a low 148.6 or a high 0.5. Okay. So we had this and a very slow wheelie reacceleration. May not look like all that much when you compare Ghost. I lost a dumb amount of time. So I just gotta get back into form here, learn some current day strats, do the wheelie sand hop, and also learn the tomb exit wheelie strategy. And I'll definitely get the job done here in the coming year. I really look forward to doing this track for sure in 2022. So that concludes DDR. Moving on now to good old Moonview Highway. I did not touch this one in the past year, but I do want to come back to this year. I want to get a 143.3 specifically. There are so many people that are at a 0.3, and I can definitely do it. Here's the thing. At this level of where my current PB is at right now, it's hard to PB, but it may sound dumb. The faster you drive, the easier the time cut is. Here's the reason why. Basically, this is just an auto scroller until lap 3, where you're at the hairpin turn. My PB here was at like the minimum threshold to have one giant wheelie alignment to the right of the red car, to the right of the post of the bridge, and threading the needle in between the yellow car here and the fence here, which you're going to see on lap 3. The faster you go, the cars are further apart, you have more breathing room, and it's just a matter of timing your chain wheelies properly for the maximal time gain. So I can definitely do that in the coming year. This track is actually a lot of fun to play, and I wish I would actually play this more, so that's why I'm going to change that around in the coming year. So as you can see, I barely go past that car. I almost got flattened, to be fair, from that, and also the blue car too. But those gaps would be far wider, much more breathing room, as my PV gets a lot better here. Beyond a 0.3 is a fruitless endeavor. I really don't want to spend that much time to go even lower than that. It's going to be very hard, honestly. You really are splitting hairs to go from a 0.3 to a 0.0 where the world record is at right now. So not worthwhile, in my opinion. So, but definitely a 0.3 is in the crosshairs for me in 2022, and it should be a fun goal to work towards this year. BCWE, another one of my most proudest PBs that I got in the past year. I set up for a goal to finally get my first 221 in the year 2021, and I was finally successful. This felt like setting a world record in my eyes. I've been very good at this track for a long period of time. Many world record fails back in the day in 2010, 2009, 2011. Never got the job done, and I felt like my skill here was fleeting versus the speed of the player base in current day. And I finally got a run that's a 221, and it's painfully obvious by my PB that I have a long ways to go here. Well, that's easy to say because, as we all know at this point, this is one of the hardest tracks to play in the game. A lot of different strategies to go for. And this is one of the hardest tracks to close out a proper run on. I want a lower 221 in 2022. I'm definitely tasked for the job. And I think I can get that done without doing the DK low ramp that enters the section over here. I think once I get around a 0.4 or a 0.3, it'll be worthwhile for me to learn the DK ramp, because at that point, I'll be gearing towards trying to get my first 220 here, which I will try and do in the long term. But this is one of my favorite tracks to play, one of my favorite tracks in all of Mario Kart. It's such a wonderful track. It's so much fun to play. And this is one of my proudest times. I think this and my Wario's Gold Mine time are two of my proudest times that I set in 2021. So this is another classic example of a track that my PB doesn't show the full extent of my potential, my best splits. And that's why I'm not doing certain no glitch categories, not doing most of the glitch categories, and almost none of the shortcut categories for things as well. To have my time be used wisely for the bigger, grander goals that I have, and a lot of the goals being goals I've had for a very long period of time. Thankfully, I achieved one of those in the past year here, which I'm very happy about. But long term, I would love to come back on worldwide tops here. I can definitely do that for sure. So very proud, and that's BCB no glitch. Now I need some water. I've been talking for almost 40 minutes straight, so give me 1 second. If you're liking these types of longer form content, by the way, definitely get sub to the channel, give the video a like, comment below, let me know you guys enjoy these longer form talking time trial videos. I really enjoy these. So this run is ancient, it's wonderful. I almost don't want to improve it for the novelty of this. You guys may not realize, you guys may not know that at one point the world record used the spear for a Bowser Castle glitch. Okay, it looks really ridiculous, but the shroomless cut is so free with this thing, even more free than using the mock bike on this. And it's not a typo. You see that correctly. I want to try and get a 210 on this. This was always one of my favorite glitch categories to try back in the inception of this thing. I quickly got back on worldwide tops in the original Nintendo top 10s right when the glitch came out. I really tried to get the world record here because I was splitting hairs with the no glitch runs back in the day. Couldn't quite get the job done, but this is one of the only glitch categories that I played in the past year, actually pretty intently for about maybe a week and a half or so I gave last year. And I failed many high 210 and low 211 runs using Funky Kong and the Shroom glitch. I may try and tinker with the Shroomless one, but I think my first goal is just getting a faster 3-for-3 Shroom glitch run with the Flame Runner, which will automatically be like a mid-slow 211 from the splits that I normally get when I complete laps here. But it'll be really cool to get a 210 here for sure. I can definitely do it. Beyond that point, I think will definitely require me to transition permanently to doing 3-for-3 Shroomless Funky Kong Flame Runner glitch attempts here. Which that is very specific, more than the mock bike, very hard to do. I'm not really ready to actually sink that time into that endeavor yet, but definitely I can get a 210 with 3-for-3 Shroom glitch for sure. But again, the novelty of this still being my PB, I love this. This was almost worldwide tops when I said it, I'm pretty sure, but I just smile every time I look at this run, to be honest. So it's gonna be a sad day when I eventually topple down this PB, but it's a necessary thing to progress the time trial PBs, right? Lastly, running out the nitros, we have Rainbow Road. I did not touch this intently at all in the past year, but I do want to come back this year. This is one of my favorite tracks, and I want to get a 227. And long term, I do want to get the best Flame Runner time here, which I think I can do. It's going to be a very, very long grind for that, but I'm not going to gun for a 226 this year. But I can definitely get a 227 without too much of a time sink for sure. I will have to long term have to switch to kart here to really improve a lot of ranks. So obviously it's not a glitch, but I consider that in that category of revisiting my glitch times, my shortcut times, my worst ranked times, pretty much. So, the overall bike time here will eventually be a fleeting dream, just a passion project, having the best flame runner time here long term. But to really cut a lot more ranks on my timesheet, I'll have to make the transition to doing the cart strategy here. If I could get maybe like a low 226 with the cart, I'd be pretty happy. So I'll probably try and be more intent with that in 2023. Again, as I mentioned in this video, really this year is going to be more of like a cleanup year for me for time trials personally. I'm really just trying to accomplish a lot of goals that I've had for a very long period of time, and I quit them too soon. I just otherwise really didn't put all that much effort or just actual days and hours and time to try and do it pretty much. So I just want to recapture the time trial grind set and just that spirit again. I've always loved the game in time trials, and you know, I've been doing my commentary and the monthly world records and stuff month by month for years now. But you know, I've been watching on the sidelines for a long period of time and not really like putting a whole lot of time into my own time trials really. But I want to finally just get my foot back in the game, so to speak, and to just have fun with, you know, this is why a time trial is so much back in the day. It's a very fun endeavor. It's unique. It's different. People may think, why are you resetting 100,000 plus times literally for time trials? But it's a different type of satisfaction and enjoyment that you get through a solo mission like this to try to refine your driving skills, extend yourself to the full extent of the track, get some top 10s, maybe some world records at peak long term. It's just a satisfying endeavor that I found just speed running in general. So yeah. Moving on now to the retros. This was actually a surprise PB on PB, no pun intended. I randomly just started playing this for like 30 minutes one day. That should probably say 20. Wait, no. So that's correct. So the day of the PB is right, because I did my timesheet video for 2020 at the beginning of December. So this is kind of like the year and like 4-month period. But I'm still gonna put it as like the 2021 timesheet anyway, just to be current with the times. But yeah, I definitely want to get a 112 here this year. This is actually one of my favorite tracks to play. This is actually I think my third regional top 10 when I started playing the game for time trials in 2008. My first one was BC3. My second one was Peach Gardens. And I believe my third one was Peach Beach. Actually, a lot of my first regionals in 2008 when I started playing the game was actually in a lot of the spear tracks. It's actually one of my favorite vehicles to use, just that baseline in general. So I have the splits for the 112, but I think I can do even better than that. I also rolled my tops here for a long period of time back in the day. So I look forward to kind of grind this out again and getting back into prior form, and then just building upon that prior skill set. So yeah, this should be like a fun, quicker like track to kind of like bounce back and forth between during the coming year. So I look forward to it. I'm pretty sure BC Wii Glitch is the only glitch time I want to improve in 2022. I think you're literally going to see all the rest of these I don't want to touch in 2022. Again, for the aforementioned reasons a couple of times I mentioned now, just for being very wise with the time that you want to use to play X game for certain goals that you have. So, it's nice to be able to have different types of goals on tracks. That way you're not burnt out with just one all-consuming goal of just one track, because the high probability of burnout, not from that one track, but from time trials in general, is very high doing that. And let's say you're watching this video right now, you've maybe time trialed here and there, you're kind of interested by the world record movement here and watching the worldwide top 10s and the regionals and stuff. You want to get your hands in the gauntlet, get your skis in the ice, so to speak, and shoot some goals and make some victories and stuff, right? You want the highest probability for success. This is a very unique endeavor to do these ILs that are very grindy, reset heavy. So you want to have the best plan for the highest chance of success to be in it for the long term, right? So, have some practical goals in a couple of tracks, bounce around a couple of them, maybe your favorite tracks to play. That's my best advice. When you're eventually honing down, like, I want my first worldwide top, my first world record, the conversation changes, where most of your time sink will be in the all-consuming goal. What I found most of the time in the past, I found more benefit through having at least one or two tracks in reserve, so to speak, to kind of bounce back and forth between those. Not for like days on end, it's just to break up the monotony, but have like a looming goal in the back of your mind to work towards, just to break up the monotony of the primary grind you have at the current moment. So, I do want to actually get the 58-second time here, but not during this year. This is one of the no glitch tracks where I really don't want to have any time sync until 2023. Again, if I'm kind of repeating myself, it's really just to try and hone in the point of like the advice I'm trying to give, as well for things you guys can take away from watching this whole video here. I might play this for fun once in a while, but this will be one of my biggest goals and tracks to revisit in the coming year in 2023. So I just want to get down a lot of my very specific goals I've had for a very long time, and then I can kind of move on. Let's say I just have this epic tear in 2022, and I achieve most of my bigger goals before the year ends, then I'll probably revisit that before 2023, just being honest. I got the most random PB here at the end of last year by a pipsqueak 9 milliseconds. This track is fleeting. It's very hard. It's a short track. It's intense on the soft drifts and instant wheelies out of MTs. It's very hard. My best splits are barely a 52.9. I want that long term, but it is so hard. Like, man, this is such a hard track to play. I've had so many 53.0 fails for years. For years, it's been fleeting me like a curse. So, I want to finally focus on this intently this year and get my 0.0 in the bag, so to speak. And then maybe just try and grind out for a 52.9, but I should have had a 0.0 years and years and years ago. It's been a curse for that long for me, just like the 221 curse on BC Wii for me, just like last year that I finally got that done. So, 0.0 will happen in 2022. I promise to myself and to you guys as well. I'm gonna make it happen, alright? This will probably be before trying a new glitch category I've never tried yet, because a lot of them haven't discovered after I tried doing glitch time trials 10 plus years ago. This will be one of the last categories I'll ever revisit. This category is so frustrating, at least for me personally. Insta-shrooming into a pole and nothing happening is so mind-numbing. Like, it's so boring to me. Like, you know your glitch PB is bad when, like, your best splits of potential can almost beat it through no glitch. Like, long term, if I grind my heart out, I could get close to this with my no glitch driving. So I have a lot of time to save here, but I just don't want to do it for a long time. So I may not even give this the treatment in 2023, just being honest. It might be a 2024 goal for all I know. But yeah, this is one of the most annoying categories to play. No care at all to try and do it in the coming year or two, possibly. So sorry, GB2, I had to do it. I'm sorry. Mario Raceway, one of my favorite tracks. A lot of you guys may know. I didn't touch it at all in 2021, but I do want to finally come back to it in this year. A 0.7 is a healthy goal to have. I think cutting 0.2 is practical. I feel like my driving here, when I'm in my form, is very good. But learning the double pipe tricks is so difficult. Not only getting the trick out, but having the proper alignment into the second pipe and not having any wheelie turns is so underrated. Just because you're trying to learn the double pipe tricks for this track doesn't mean you're going to get all the time saved. If your alignment is completely off and you're wheelie nudging back and forth incessantly like this, you're going to lose almost all of your time gains and then some. So it's very specific trying to learn the actual pipe tricks. So I think 0.7 is a healthy practical goal to go for. Long term, I would love to be back on worldwide tops and get into lower 141 territory. I think I could practically get like a mid 141.4 without overextending myself. Beyond that is very, very hard. You have to really actually focus on getting the chain wheelies here before the U-turn, because that detail actually matters a lot more at higher level with where the record is at right now. So I think 0.7 is a practical, healthy cut to go for. I'm only 146 milliseconds away from doing that, or 147 technically for a 799. So we'll see. If I can get that pretty quickly and I can kind of lab out the double pipe tricks, I'll try and go for like a lower 141. So we'll see. We'll see. Sherbet Land. This is actually one track I do want to give a proper treatment to this year. My PB, very old as you can see. This was 3rd worldwide when I set it, American record at the time. And I always loved playing this track. And we know my current recent plunges into the ice on online time trials in that series. But trying to just replay this track for being consistent for the series, my love for the track was kind of rekindled, pretty much. I would love to go for a low 204. I think a 204.4 is a healthy goal to go for during this year. And long term, it would be nice to get back on worldwide tops. I'll see. I mean, the only thing is that this track is a track that has the most amount of chain wheelies out of any other track in the game. So it's kind of, well, not kind of, it's a very painful endeavor because, I mean, it's not as harsh as Flame Runner chains because the Magi has its better acceleration, but I think that this has, what, 15, 16 chain wheelies over 3 laps total? That's a lot of time to lose or gain. So, yeah. So, I think a 204.4 is a healthy medium of having a decent improvement, which would reflect refining my driving skill here, better shrooms, doing the spin drift wheelie alignment into the shroom itself, maybe some more chain wheelies, and a much better approach to the cave turns. So, as you guys will see, you may have watched my 2008 world record reaction pretty recently too. And the approach to the turns were far different in 08 and also 2011. Compare it to Sosis with his world record now. His cave driving is nuts. It's insane. And it saves a lot of time doing proper driving in the cave. So, yeah, I think 0.4 is a pretty good goal to have. Long-term worldwide tops. But I'll be very content to come back here finally after 11 plus years now to one of my favorite and most unique time trials to play, being the only Magic Cruiser relevant track to play in the set list here. This is tragic. This track is tragic for me. So I have to play this track at some point. I have to. And yes, with the spear, obviously. The only thing is, this track is so painful because the wheelies do not always come out with the spear when you're hopping and landing back on the beach. The spear will hop over that water strip right there and do one wheelie that does not come out half the time. And then the chain island hops, the wheelies don't come out more than half the time for me. and I've tried a lot of different things in the past on and off. I gave it a fairly decent stab on a stream last year, and I just couldn't get past that point almost at all. So maybe I'll switch to Nunchuck, maybe, because Classic would be pointless and it's kind of the same thing as a GCN. I really don't know. If the wheelies just work, if I click and hop the D-pad and wheelie comes out every time on the chain islands, I'll play it and get a 121. I could definitely get like a 121.7 long term, because I hit some pretty decent laps back in, I don't know, 2011, 2012, that were almost 121 back in the day. So I understand the concepts of driving with the spear here. It's just the game just doesn't accept my D-pad inputs for rechaining my wheelies, so it's very frustrating. That's going to be a 2023 project, if that. This track now, as you guys may have known from the last timesheet video last year, like a year and 4 months ago, I accidentally, unknowingly to me, deleted my game save in 2017. So my 327 RIP is never to exist ever again. Okay. This is a 348, and I had this around 2012. This was on Worldwide Tops. And this was always one of my better tracks. I really feel like I really could have applied myself back in this period back in the day. I really probably could have gotten the record. I had some world record fails too back in the day, some double 41.9s back when that was a monster pace. I want to finally achieve the 204 this year. Some of you guys may know the current strategies now at world record level is doing the shroomless dock jump, and that is completely useless for where I'm at right now. Honestly, anyone trying to go for that, the only practical application is going for the world record in my view. It's just not worth it. You can still get a very low 204 with pristine driving, be on worldwide tops, with not going for that. A very, very hard strat at that as well. So, I'd be happy with just a 204 point anything, like a 999, I don't care, right? But I think I could definitely get a 0.8 for sure. This has a third of the chain wheelies as Sherbet Land, but as I mentioned, the acceleration is worse than the Flame Runner, and getting a drop chain wheelie and the fold chain wheelie, the time loss is far more significant. So, I think going for a 204.8 is not necessarily overextending myself in my time investment for what I want to do in 2022. Long term, I'd love to get at least a mid 204 would be nice, but that's going to require really being very good at timing my chain wheelies. That's going to be a giant project just for a long term understanding of game mechanics and having that timing under my belt, pretty much. So it's not that big of a goal. It's a 0.5 cut, but I've had the splits for years. I've had the fails for years on and off. So it's just another one of those things where I'm taking off the checkbox, so to speak, for a goal I've had for a long period of time. So another track where that's going to be apparent as well is Mighty Waluigi Stadium. I got this PB pretty recently, and it would have been an easy 149, but my lap was absolute trash, and I don't understand how my other two laps were as fast as they were of all the big mistakes that they had. So, I want a mid 149 in 2022, which I can honestly get on any run that I do on this track. This is another one of those tracks where it's arguably the most technique heavy track in the entire game, and trying to get fast laps, let alone closing out a top tier time, is extremely difficult. So that was horrible, that was sloppy, but I still got a modest PB of 251 when I got it 2 months ago. Long term, I can definitely 148 this. I was actually in worldwide tops for a good period of time before the turn skip was a thing back in 2010. I think it was actually one of the first 151s. I may have been actually the 10th 151 here, I'm pretty sure, back in the day. I had like a 0.8 or something. It was like 9th or 10th or something at the time. But yeah, I eventually I learned how to do the turn skip with this crazy controller, okay? And my current best split skip, almost a 148. I felt even faster laps than that as well. This is another one of those tracks where I do understand conceptually a lot about the track because of how far ahead I was from the player base back in the day. I've always had pretty solid driving here, but again, it's a very, very hard track to close out a really good run on. But step one, just any 149. Be very content with 149.5 or mid 149 in general for 2022. I could get that in almost any attempt. If I get that pretty swiftly during this year, I'll try and gun closer to the 148 territory. And I would love to come back onto worldwide tops here after all this time with the current day strats. In the future, we'll see. We'll see. I can definitely do it if I put my mind to it. This is one of my biggest project tracks this year too. This is my one and only 135 I've ever set in Desert Hills. To be fair, I haven't played this track almost at all since 2011, but for good reason. This track was always so confusing to me. Even getting my first 137 and my first 136 was so hard back in the day. This was always one of my worst lagging no glitch times way back in the day when I was coming up on the ranks and stuff. Shout out to one of my best friends in the community, Doom. He recently chatted with me and he's like, you know, your recent driving in modern day is actually very good, but I'm losing all of my time on the mushroom. So I don't do the mushroom like this anymore. I do like a hopping method to preserve my momentum over the bump. But I do kind of more what to do with modern day, but he actually really helped to critique my mushroom not only like barely 1 or 2 weeks ago, I think. He showed me some very good tips as far as like articulating my bike before I go into the bump to go over the mountain for lower air time, and then getting the wheelie off as soon as possible to get back to top speed right away and have a better last turn. So this has been, you know, I feel like my driving has always been fairly decent here, but my laps are always so inconsistent, so it always eluded me for the longest time. But I think after Doom's critique and help for me on the shrooms here, I can definitely get a 135.4. I will be very happy with that. So we'll see if I can do that in the coming year. Hydration break. All right. So Desert Hills glitch, and I believe I set this time just to get my first fast lap for the players page for cutting ranks a couple years ago. Is a mushroom here? I do, yes. So this was a fast lap attempt and it ended up being my one and only glitch PB. So I actually look forward to revisiting this, giving it the proper treatment in 2023. It's actually gonna be fun trying to go for a 3 for 3 here. I think after I try and hone in some better driving and understanding of this track for the no-glitch side of things, I'll be able to really capitalize on my glitch attempts here. Kind of like what I referred to with, like, it's not a glitch, but like Maple Treeway turn skip is like, you can learn a strat that saves a lot of time, but you're going to be gaining almost nothing at all, or not as much as you can really gain, if the no glitch driving understanding and performance is lackluster or not as great as it could be. Some people have different approaches where they want to learn the no glitch first, have better driving, and then sink their time into the glitch or shortcut category. Others may thrive more by just going full force fast strats and then the driving comes after. Both of them are completely reasonable approaches. I've seen both of them work very well. At least for me, I found at least more fruitful endeavors, understanding and having better consistency of the driving. That way my time effort for learning a shortcut and or a glitch counts, because I was never all that great at performing a lot of glitches and shortcuts back in the day. So I needed to have a lot more of a time sink to really get those into my current PB. So I don't want to waste my wasted first 3 for 3 or 2 for 3 glitch or shortcut runs by not having consistency of faster no glitch driving, so to speak. So this is another one I really would look forward to doing in the coming year. I want to get a lower 217. Very reasonable. I've had splits for a little while now. And I honestly never gave this a very, very long grind. Almost ever. This was more so just to get like a no shortcut time onto the no shortcut charts in the players page. Because I would always mainly play the shortcut categories, being this was my first regional top 10 in 2008. It's still one of my favorite tracks. But most of my efforts were on the shortcut side of things for the longest time. But I would love to get a lower 217. Long-term 216 would be nice, but that's honestly very challenging. The chain wheelies matter a lot, and then getting better, good low jumps is important too. So I could get by with like having maybe some more glaring errors, but still getting a low 217.4. And then the longer time sync will be trying to go for a 216. So a lot of these PBs, whether it's a giant rehaul or not, I'm also trying to clean up a lot of my older PBs or my PBs that are nowhere near like what my potential is, just for like trying to meet like a certain like threshold and standard. And then once I meet that, I'm gonna have a lay of the land, look at all my PBs again next year, just like this, say what was improved, how did I do, and what tracks are kind of my favorite tracks and favorite categories, and what do I want to put forth my time and effort towards to really get to where I want to be. Because sometimes your favorite tracks will end up being categories too, where the grind is just so mind-numbing as well, that like this could be arguably my favorite track hypothetically, and this track is very fatiguing to play because the low jumps, absolute trash for this category. Fourth low, horrible. You can be in lap 3 purgatory for months and months and months and no major improvement, because a fourth low is a fourth low, as we know, and or getting no chains is also quite a tragic tale as well. So I still think a 217.4 is a reasonable endeavor in 2022, and then I'll kind of revisit what I want to do beyond that point once I get that target. Onto the shortcut side of things, as I mentioned before, this is very, very old, and I have no plans to improve it in this year, but I would love to give this a proper treatment next year in 2023. Long term, I would love to get a mid 158, going back to the Flame Runner. This track's history for the shortcut side of things is actually really cool. So Key comes onto the scene, 3 for 3, absolute Chad the world, doesn't go for a 1 for 3, just full bang 3 for 3 on the charts. Let's go. It goes Flame Runner, then Mach Bike, then Bullet Bike, then Mach Bike, and then back to Flame Runner. Crazy stuff, right? So the Mach Bike makes the shortcut way easier to make it, and even way more easier for the recovery part, most of all. You can make the shortcut fairly reasonable with a Flame Runner, but if you don't hit it right at all and you don't clip onto the wall with your recovery drift when landing, you're almost going to be hitting that opposing blue wall right there almost every single time. So it's a lot more specific and obviously a lot more reset heavy. So you could still get a mid to low 158 reasonably with the Mach Bike, but I would prefer to go back to the Flame Runner here. So yeah, that'll be a goal for 2023. Come back to here and get at least a 158 first off, and then long term a mid 158. So this will have a very special place in my heart always. My first regional top 10. I was like, it was such a novelty to me back in the day in 2008. I was grinding Guitar Hero competitively on scorehero.com and stuff when I was 12, 13. Streaming on Ustream like 2006 or whatever. And my newest endeavor was transitioning to Mario Kart Time Trial, trying to become #1 in the charts and everything. And just seeing my name plaster a 7th regional and BC3 shortcut was so cool. That's always one of my most novel experiences and memories in this video game. So I'll revisit this at some point. I will in 2023 and get a good time once more. So I guess this is kind of the trifecta. I'm very proud of this PB because look at that. A fat, almost 1 second PB. And I did that with only one cut. I jumped directly from my last 2009 3-lap PB right to my first 212. I had a 213.868. I think it was 11th worldwide back when I said in 2009. The shortcut was fleeting me for years on and off. Didn't care to play it. And then I finally tried to lab it once more, understand the shroom, tried to improve. And once I understood how the shroom works, had a lot of fails, a lot of good splits, and I had a humongous cut of almost 1 full second to my first 212. Back on American Tops as well at the time. You see it right? I want to get a 211 this year. It's going to be one of the main mock bike tracks I actually want to try and have a big push on this year. This is one of my favorite mock bike tracks to play. The driving is very rewarding, it's a lot of fun. And now that I understand how the shroom works, I can definitely get a 211 long term. So it's going to be a fun challenge. Probably, you know, rage inducing at some point still, because again, it's Parkway. You know, it's the shroom. Even if I understand a bit more, it's still Parkway. We understand this, right? So I'm still very proud of this because although the novelty was quite special, having one 3-lap PB, it's not a fast lap, it's a 3-lap PB from 2009. Like, crazy, right? Because I couldn't improve it. I tried several times on and off from 2009 until 2021. The shroom just wouldn't work, or I couldn't produce fast enough splits. Once I figured out how the shroom works, I got fast splits, and I improved my time. So yeah. So, we'll see what happens, man, 2022. But I can definitely do some damage here for sure. I might end up learning the beginning corner cut after the Canon 2 that they're doing in world records now. To kind of make it a bit of an easier endeavor for sure. So yes, that is Parkway. No glitch. And of course we have the glitch category of Parkway. 154, I think, yeah. The cursed numbers. But this was when I was trying to, I didn't resize the thing. Well, it'll be in post-production, I'll resize the little PB thing. Anyway. This was an effort to cut ranks on the players page and tried to retain some ranks almost 4 years ago. And I popped off so hard when I made this thing. Oh man. This is probably one track, one glitch category that'll be like the last thing that I revisit, honestly. My time will be better suited learning glitches that have been discovered since this point that I don't have a PB for yet, and revising current glitch times that have a lot of time places to cut, that otherwise this would be a fruitless endeavor because how long ago was it? I evaluated my timesheet maybe like a little bit over a year ago, and I'm like, okay, like what ranks are very bad and I could gain some pretty quick spots on for the time investment. Okay. And Parkway glitch actually wasn't one of them, believe it or not. I don't think many people have actually gone out of the way to try and do the Parkway glitch because, again, to be fair, it's hard to do this. It's a two-parter. You're going off the tree, you have to hit the finish line pole the right way and fall back down from the horizontal wall properties down to the cave. It's very difficult. When I started trying to learn this in 2018, what's funny is that you can actually get such high airtime, they actually fly over the finish line pole you're trying to clip on. So I actually got a lot of those clips before even making this for the first time. So I was flying over where you collide to actually go down into the cave. So yeah, so honestly it'd be way more worth it for me to actually do a cookie strat mushroom gorge glitch and cut far more places than to actually cut maybe like what, 20 places with like a 2-for-3 run maybe on here. So again, that kind of goes back to the whole time investment was practical, gain X amount of placements for like a couple hours time, or cut 0.2 for 5 placements. It just doesn't make sense, right? Guys, this is tragic. But I swear we'll have our redemption arc finally on this dumb track this year. This was an unfortunate improvement this year. Well, 2020, probably. I gave this around a week to 2 week stint last year, and I came out of my journey with this PB. And I think I was really almost one frame off of getting my 130 finally. Would have been third worldwide, would have been American record at the time, but just wasn't lucky enough to get the double trick on lap 3. As you guys may or may not know, this is literally RNG Mario Circuit. There are RNG meaning there are so many random elements out of your control. The grass into the shroom, the grass outside of the shroom, and also this double trick here as well. It's a sub pixel or sub frame. I always mix up those two. One of those two. It's either a sub pixel or a sub frame timing, where sometimes you can unintentionally lock yourself out of being able to get a proper double trick. I believe Zach, the main tasker, shout out to you by the way, who tasked this track back in the day. There are certain scenarios of my prior PBs where I literally was locked out of having a double trick being possible due to the whole sub-frame, sub-pixel timing of everything. So I would have had my goal since 2010, but unfortunately that was not the case. I want my revenge. It's 130 point anything. If it was 999, I don't care. That's one of my longest term goals since 2010. I should have had it way back in the day in 2010, 2011. I'll get that finally. That is one of my main missions in this year. Concluding in the Lightning Cup, we have Mario Circuit 3. And I had a very random PB here in the past year. A very modest 29 millisecond cut, but significant. It's my first 0.3. I was very happy. Honestly, I'm still quite happy with this right now, but I can definitely do a 118.2. Will require a bit of grinding. Either I try and play this track sporadically from time to time and I get into form, or I feel like I'm driving fast and I barely get splits for like a 118.7 or something, like nowhere near my PB. So it's very hot and cold whenever I play this track. So I think 0.2 is a reasonable endeavor. I don't think I'll ever really bother trying to learn a triple MT strategy. The only time I'll have to learn it is if I'm purposely really trying for a 117 here. And if I try and do that, that won't be for many, many years. I really don't think so. But definitely 118.2. I can do that for sure. 0.1 with double MT is quite the hard task. Maybe long term, I could be good enough for that. I think I can do it. But 0.2 is a healthy goal to have. I'm only 91 milliseconds away. So we'll see what happens. Hydration break. Another spear track. One of my favorite spear tracks in the game. Peach Gardens. This track is awesome. I love time trialing this track. As I mentioned on Peach Beach, I believe this was my first Spear regional top 10 in 2008 and my second overall regional top 10 time. And I think this is actually one of my first worldwide top 10 times. I think I was like the 5th or 6th sub 201 here. I was like 5th worldwide with like a 200.876, I think. It was shortly before my first world record here. I started bagging up a lot of these longer term worldwide top 10s that I was filling for a long period of time. This track is a bit confusing if I'm being honest. I've tried playing this on and off the past year, and for some reason, like my slip drifts in the mole section kind of go haywire, for lack of a better term. Like I won't do like a proper slip back and forth with the wheelie. It'll like stutter and go forward, and I won't get the actual chain slip drift up over here. But I think critiquing my time, because I've tried watching runs in the past, like what am I doing wrong here to not get consistent 39 laps? I think I'm losing most of my time from the maze exit to the finish line. My first half, if I'm racing really good, is stellar. The second half, I think I lose most of my time. So I want my first 159. I think a 159.7 would be a very cool and healthy goal to go for in the current year. And another tip for you guys too, definitely if you're stuck on something, you seem to have the repetition, not only playing it, but visually watching it. So watching streams, watching times that are better and worse than your times. When I was getting better at the game, even like to this day too, I always learn a little bit from both times that are a little bit slower than mine and also times that are faster than mine. So, especially back in the day, I would watch other players' times all the time, incessantly. Because if you're trying to get better at some skill set, you need to practice hands-on, but just also visually taking it in and watching the same pattern over and over and over again. With all tracks in this game and just speedrunning in general, a lot of it, I feel like the foundation is just patterns. Patterns of executing, patterns of doing things on a controller. That's all that it is at the end of the day. That's another one of my biggest pieces of advice for sure as well. This was one of the world's random PBs I had last year. I was literally trying to warm up before an online TT stream, and I got my first 206. So some of you may know my history at this point in this track. I've always been very stellar at this track. This is my favorite mock bike track to play. I've had splits for a 205 since 2010. I was actually the first player to get a 41-second lap one streamer overall, and I never sealed the deal, for the record, back in the day. So it may seem like a giant cut for a goal, but if I'm in form, I could get that on almost any run that I do pretty much. I've beaten all the boulder cycles multiple times in years past, but this track is so hard to close out. It's so much fun to play, but so many things can go wrong here. It's a very bumpy track. Like, that's coming from me, where my best and favorite track is Maple Treeway. That's saying a lot. You can control a lot of factors here, obviously, but even still, a lot can and does go wrong on this track. But this will be my other biggest mock bike grind this year. So this and also Parkway, those will be two fun grinds to do. But yeah, as we move on from here, we go into the glitch category, which again, as you'll see, it's gonna be no goal for it, obviously, because I have a lot of bigger goals, cleaning up shop for goals I've had for a long period of time. Like this, I've won a 205 since I got 41-second splits in 2010. Okay, I wanted it for that long now, and I should have had it for that long. So 2022 is the cleaning up shop year for me personally, just for long-term goals I've wanted to have and seen for the longest period of time. And once I achieve most of those, I'm gonna reassess the land once more. It's gonna be another timesheet video too, and we're gonna see where the chips fall in the coming year and kind of see where we go in 2023. I hope to be very productive this year with my time trial endeavors. If you guys aren't following them already, follow the streams. Most of my time trials these days are done exclusively on stream. Once in a while, I'll be doing some offline attempts, but not that commonly these days. Plus, I find it more enjoyable to share the experience and the process on stream too, and it's interacting with people too, as I'm trying to go for my goals and stuff. And honestly, that's another piece of advice I have too. You know, time trial... I've been speaking for almost an hour and a half. Excuse me, sorry. Time trials at baseline, yes, it's a solo mission. You're the only player. It's you versus you, right? But it doesn't have to be. All I have to say, be on Discord with friends, call, compare PBs, try try and help each other out, things like that too. I would do time trial calls for like 8+ hours a day back in the day, like 2008 to like 2011. So you don't have to do it alone, all solo mission. Doing it with others for time trials makes it a much more, I guess, long-term, like, thriving to like actually reach your goals. If you're very self-sufficient on your own, you can kind of just get yourself through like some very tough grinds and everything, then you're kind of set. But even still, you want to share the experiences with you know, your peers as well, obviously. But yes, that concludes DK Mountain Glitch. No plans, but I do look forward to getting my first 3 for 3, hopefully in 2023. So we'll see. And last but not least, the big bad castle. So, if you guys are watching my streams, I'm actively right now restarting my grinds. I'm not stopping until I get a 230, 999 or lower. I actually just got done with my stream at about 10:30 p.m. It's after midnight right now recording this, just getting off of my stream. And I got this PB last year, and this is one of my favorite tracks, one of my best tracks, but one of the most annoying tracks to play. Basically, I and the entire player base are being gatekept by pure luck on this track, being the bridge at the beginning. There's no consistent way to have a flat bridge every single time on this track. What normally happens is you get a giant bounce right before you chain your wheelie. Okay. It happens to me in my PB on lap 3. It costs a lot of time. If I had a flat, no bounce, full chain wheelie on this PB lap 3, it would have almost been my first 230 for context here. So basically, I'm gatekept by luck on this track, as I have been for a long period of time. And that's been the main reason why, and I talked about it on my stream tonight actually. The main reason, in almost 5 years, I've only done 1 to 2 week grinds at most here, 4 or 5 times total in almost 5 years. Just because of this giant luck factor here. It's so mind-numbing where I had a 3-hour stream today, and I only had 1 flat bridge chain into only lap 2 once in almost 3 hours. So it's very frustrating. I just hope I can, this is going to be more of a mental grind, being patient and being lucky enough to have a run to be a 230. I hope the Mario Kart gods help a brother out. Please, I beg of thee, okay? But definitely follow the streams. I'm going to be streaming my journey for this. And my next journey after this is going to be RMC 130. And then Maple Treeway grind. And then more to come in the latter half of 2022. If you enjoy these videos, I would highly recommend checking out both the 2008 and 2022 World Record reactions. They are also longer form, time trial, podcasty styles like this, videos like this. You would definitely enjoy those. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate you all very, very much. Good luck in your time trials this year. Cheers. And I'll see you guys on stream and some future videos. Thank you so much. Take care and peace.